Chatham is one of the quietest retirement towns in Thailand. Some retirees absolutely love it. Others move here, stay for a year, and then quietly leave. What's interesting is that when they leave, they rarely say why. Nothing dramatic happens, there's no big problem, but something about living here doesn't quite work for everyone. And the surprising part is this: most people who eventually live in Chatham didn't choose it first. They arrived here after living somewhere else in Thailand, Pattaya, Hua Hin, or Chiang Mai, which tells you something important. Chatham isn't a place people rush towards. It's a place they discover after they realize they want less of something. Less noise, less pressure, less of the constant activity that sometimes follows people even into retirement. And for some retirees, that quieter rhythm becomes exactly what they were looking for. For others, it slowly begins to feel like something is missing. So in this video, I want to walk you through what living in Chatham is actually like day to day, the advantages, the trade-offs, and the quiet reasons some retirees eventually decide it isn't quite right for them. Most retirees who eventually settle in Chatham have already spent time living somewhere else in Thailand. At the beginning of retirement, people are naturally drawn to places with more activity, more restaurants, more nightlife, more international communities, places where there always seems to be something happening. And at first, that energy can feel exciting. There are always new cafes to try, new areas to explore, new people to meet. But over time, some retirees start to notice something interesting. The same energy that felt exciting at the beginning can slowly start to feel tiring. Not physically tiring, mentally tiring. Too many choices, too much movement, too much background noise around everyday life. That's usually the moment quieter places begin to look appealing. Places where daily life feels simpler, where routines form naturally, where the environment doesn't constantly compete for your attention. And that's where Chatham begins to make sense to a certain kind of retiree. Because Chatham doesn't try to impress visitors. It doesn't try to feel busy. In many ways, it feels almost understated compared to other retirement destinations in Thailand. And for some people, that simplicity is exactly the point. But there's also a trade-off hidden inside that calm. Because the same quiet environment that feels relaxing to one person can feel limiting to someone else. Many retirees who move to Chatham go through a similar pattern. Three phases: relief, plateau, and eventually a decision. The first phase is relief. During the first few months, everything feels calmer. Maybe you've come from a larger city or from a place that simply felt too busy. Suddenly, daily life slows down. The streets are quieter, errands feel easier, there's less pressure to constantly be somewhere. For many retirees, this stage feels like confirmation that they made the right decision. But eventually, the second phase appears: the plateau. This usually happens somewhere between 4 and 9 months after moving. By this point, the novelty has faded. You know the streets, you know where to shop, you know which restaurants you like. Life becomes normal, and that's where people start to learn whether the environment truly suits them. Some retirees find this stage incredibly comfortable. Life feels calm, predictable, and easy. But others start to notice a quiet restlessness, not because anything is wrong, but because the environment offers less stimulation than they expected. And eventually, that leads to the third phase, the decision. After living somewhere for a year or more, people naturally begin asking themselves a simple question: can I see myself living here for the next 5 or 10 years? Some retirees answer that question easily. By that point, Chatham already feels like home. Others start quietly exploring other places again. Sometimes they move. Sometimes they simply spend more time somewhere else. Nothing dramatic, just a gradual realization about what kind of environment suits them best. One of the best ways to understand Chatham is to simply look at the typical morning. Mornings here tend to unfold slowly. The town wakes up gently, there's no rush of traffic, no loud nightlife ending from the night before. Along the beachfront, you'll usually see people walking early in the day, retirees taking their morning walk, local residents exercising before the heat arrives. The beach itself is wide and open, which gives the area a sense of space that many coastal towns have lost. It's rarely crowded. You'll see small groups of people moving at their own pace. Someone walking along the shoreline, a fisherman preparing a boat, a couple sitting quietly looking out at the water. After a walk, many retirees stop for coffee at the same cafe they visit regularly. Small places where staff begin to recognize familiar faces. Over time, these small routines become part of everyday life. Morning walk, coffee, maybe a trip to a local market, then the day unfolds slowly. For retirees who enjoy routine, that rhythm can feel very comfortable. But this is also where Chatham quietly answers an important question, because some people experience those same mornings very differently. After a few months, the calm can start to feel predictable. The same walks, the same cafes, the quiet same streets. And for people who draw energy from variety and constant activity, that routine can begin to feel a little too familiar. Chatham's beach is one of the first things people notice when they arrive. It's long, wide, and noticeably calmer than many coastal areas in Thailand. You rarely feel crowded here. Even on weekends, when Thai visitors arrive, there's still plenty of space to walk. But Chatham's beach is also a good example of expectation versus reality. This isn't a beach designed to impress tourists. It isn't heavily polished or curated. Instead, it feels like a beach that locals have used for decades. You'll see seafood stalls, families sitting under shaded umbrellas, small restaurants serving simple meals. For many retirees, that authenticity is exactly what they enjoy. The beach becomes a place to walk in the mornings or sit quietly in the evenings. Not somewhere for entertainment, just something that exists in the background of everyday life. But people expecting dramatic tropical scenery every day sometimes feel slightly underwhelmed. Chatham's beach is less about spectacle and more about everyday use. One of Chatham's quiet advantages is the cost of living. It's not the cheapest place in Thailand, but many retirees find their daily expenses here noticeably lower than nearby Hua Hin. Housing is often where the difference appears most clearly. Condos and small houses can be significantly cheaper here than in the more developed resort areas. Restaurants also tend to be simpler and more locally focused. Markets remain affordable, seafood is widely available and reasonably priced. Because Chatham never developed into a major international resort town, many parts of the local economy still operate at prices closer to a working Thai town. That doesn't mean everything feels extremely cheap, but for many retirees, they appreciate that everyday spending tends to remain predictable. Life here doesn't constantly push you towards expense, entertainment, or activities. Transport is one of the first practical adjustments many residents notice. Chatham doesn't have extensive public transport. Taxis exist, but they're not always easy to find on demand. Ride hailing apps work sometimes, but availability can be inconsistent. Because of that, many long term residents eventually choose to have their own vehicle. For some people, that means a small car. For others, a scooter is enough. Once you have your own transport, the town becomes much easier to navigate. Distances are shorter, traffic is light, and nearby Hua Hin is only about 20 minutes away. That gives residents access to larger shopping centres, hospitals, and a wider range of restaurants whenever they want them. Social life in Chatham tends to develop more slowly than in some other larger retirement destinations. There is certainly an expat presence here. You'll meet foreign residents in cafes and restaurants, but the social structure is more relaxed. There are fewer large organised communities and regular events. Instead, connections often develop gradually. Seeing familiar faces during morning walks, talking with neighbours, getting to know cafe owners and restaurant staff over time. For people who enjoy a quieter lifestyle, that slower social rhythm can feel natural. But retirees who prefer very active social communities sometimes find Chatham a little too quiet. Evenings in Chatham are generally calm. People go out for dinner, maybe meet a new friend for a drink, take a walk along the beachfront, but there are no nightlife areas and no loud entertainment districts. By late evening, the town usually settles down again. For many retirees, that quiet atmosphere is part of the appeal. But for people who still enjoy lively nightlife and constant evening activities, the environment can feel a little empty. After looking at all these pieces together, a clearer picture of Chatham begins to emerge. This isn't a place designed to impress quickly. It's a place that works best for a very specific type of retiree. People who value calm more than stimulation, people who enjoy routine, people who don't feel the need to constantly search for new experiences every week. For those people, Chatham can feel surprisingly easy to live in. The quiet mornings, the familiar restaurants, the uncrowded beach. Over time, those small elements begin to form a rhythm that feels comfortable and stable. But retirees who want constant variety, large social communities, or a lot of nightlife often discover that Chatham feels too quiet for them. And that doesn't mean anything is wrong with the town. It simply means that retirement locations, like people, have their own personalities. Some places are energetic, some are social, some are constantly changing. Chatham is none of those things. It's steady, predictable, and intentionally quiet. And for the retirees who eventually choose to stay here, that quiet stability is exactly what they were looking for. If you've enjoyed today's video, can you do me a massive favor and really help me out? Just press the subscribe button. It's free on the channel. It really helps then to push videos like this to other people who are in the same situation as yourself and want to retire over in Thailand. Thanks for watching today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one.